Is this the biggest Oscars travesty of all time? At number 60 on the list, it's Malcolm X. Welcome to Long Play Video. Yeah, and here we are for number 60. Number 60 on the list. I mean,
there we go.
just
It's
a
a
momentous. It is, yeah.
yeah.
It's a round number, and I've actually thought about it this time, has to be said, because all the rest were very questionable films. And I'm interested in just your take for this one before I say what the movie is. Let me
Mm.
slide over the video to you.
Straight in. Okay.
We're going straight in. I'm not giving any information about the film. You'll know the film,
Man,
but then
I do know the film. That is what you do with a DVD cover. That's how you do DVD covers. This is perfect. Yeah. So should I mention or should I just or do
yeah,
you want to
no,
introduce?
go in for it. What's the film?
Well,
What's the DVD cover?
a Spike Lee film, Malcolm X, and it is just a full face Denzel Washington with a red bloody X over his face over the entire DVD cover. So that's really powerful, isn't it? That's a very powerful image for the front cover.
Yeah, Spike Lee joint. Yeah, he always calls his films a Spike Lee joint,
Okay,
just to correct it.
like is that like a oh yeah, is that his actual
Yeah,
like he's that's his like name or is in it's just a joint, this is just like
no, it's
a little put
yeah,
together.
he always calls his films a Spike Lee joint, as in like it's it's a
Is
joint.
is is that so that if anything ever happens, you'd be like, well, that wasn't me, that was someone else. This Spike Lee joint, I don't know who he is, but it's not me.
Mr. Lee Joint. No, I don't think it was. I think it's just what he decided to do. Yeah,
Boom!
Malcolm
Wow.
X, 1992,
Mhm.
Denzel Washington,
Yeah,
obviously a couple of weeks after Denzel Washington. But yeah,
yeah.
what do you kind of what do you know about the film? It's one of those sort of lots of people know it, but what do you
Yeah,
bring to it, I guess?
yeah. I don't really know much about the film itself, but I studied history at school, so I know a lot about Malcolm X and that whole era
Okay.
in the US. So yeah,
You
so
studied the civil rights movement in school in history, did you?
yeah, I did history at A level, so we did
Yeah.
yeah, for those younger people, that's something different now. But
They don't
yeah,
do
exactly.
grades anymore.
Oh yeah, I got participation. Yes, one.
Okay,
Yeah.
it must have been
Mm,
more
mm,
interesting. We did Nazi Germany.
mm.
Obviously, everyone does Nazi Germany because the
Yeah, everyone
British are
does Nazi
fairly
Germany.
obsessed with
Yeah,
Nazis. And then
yeah,
we did
yeah,
Italian unification
yeah, yeah.
and German unification and like the French Revolution.
Oh,
We weren't allowed to
oh,
do anything interesting like
oh.
from the 20th century. So
Why would you do the French Revolution?
yeah,
Oh, no. Who needs that? No
yeah.
one needs that in their life. Not even the French are bothered about that anymore. No, like that. Yeah, you just need to watch Napoleon. Everything's covered there. I think if you ask everyone in France, this is very true to reality, and they're
Well,
all really happy about that film.
it's a great segue again, as if we'd planned
Yeah.
it. But obviously, yeah, it is a biography, and I wonder
Mm,
where you stand on sort of biography films, because obviously there's sort of some classics that sort of are classics, things like Lawrence of Arabia and Gandhi.
mm,
You know,
yeah.
they're big movies. Would you go seeking a biography, or are you interested in it when they come out? Obviously, like we've had Napoleon and King
Mm,
Richard, obviously with Will Smith winning the Oscar
yeah.
for it and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would have actually been really interested in that. I think the slap kind of sort of,
Put you off.
diminished. Yeah, it did put me off a bit. So I probably will still watch it. But yeah, it was a bit, you know, jaunting, wasn't it? It was a bit like, that felt a bit bad. And then obviously when you look into the world of what was happening with Will Smith, you're like, oh my God, is he just like Eddie? Well, it feels a bit like Stockholm syndrome for him, which is
This is
back to Nazi
literally
Germany.
a slap in the face. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, yeah, no, I do like biopics. It's funny. Yeah, I was thinking about this, and yeah, Gandhi. I remember watching that and thinking that was an incredible film. Ben Kingsley, Schindler's List, another like
Yeah.
fantastic film. Obviously, we were talking about this recently. I haven't seen it, but Oppenheimer, obviously, it won all the Oscars. It seems like
Hmm.
that was pretty good. Capote, our one of our favorite actors. And yeah, Hidden Figures. I haven't actually seen that yet, and I was actually thinking, yeah, I should watch that. I think you did. You see it? Was it good?
Yeah, yeah, no, Hidden Figures on the
Mm,
list actually. It's yeah, it's
yeah.
actually not coming up for a while. Not I think yeah,
Oh, oh, okay.
may even be a good year before it comes out. More of
Oh,
a
wow. Okay. Yeah.
more of a an ensemble. You say that you say that. Obviously, like that means that I think it's a really good movie. If it's
No,
still
no,
a year,
no,
you're
no.
like, oh
I'm
wow, are
just
we
thinking
going
in
to
my
still be doing
mind.
this in a year?
No, no, I was thinking like, wow, it means I can't watch it for at least a year because there's no point me watching it because I've got to wait for the pod unless we do like a really early, like a time capsule pod. We're now at number 27. Yeah, last week that was fun, wasn't it? What everything went on.
We can just predicting things in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah.
would say as well,
Hidden Figures. I would
yeah,
say sort of less so. Hidden Figures is like an ensemble, and it is about real
yeah,
people and stuff. But I think
yeah,
the thing with sort of Lawrence of Arabia and Gandhi, Oppenheimer, not so much
seen that.
because of the structure. But like
Mm.
I think Gandhi is a very good comparison to Malcolm X, where it's
Yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
actor is on the screen,
Yeah.
99% of the film. And I think
Mm.
that's where the sort of
Yeah.
the real challenge is that is like, okay, you've got
Yeah.
this film and the film, lives or dies by the central performance. And I think that's
Yeah.
even with Lawrence of Arabia, which I watched a few years back for the first time, which I can appreciate. It's a very well made film, but it is about the character, but then it's also about sort of the land and yeah, kind of the desert and everything else. So he's in a lot of
Mm.
it, but I would probably say with Malcolm X and with Gandhi, like
Yeah.
yeah, they're in it. They're in pretty much every scene,
All of it.
and
Yeah.
yeah, they are like yeah the dominant force of the movie,
Mm.
which is difficult. Yeah, which is difficult to do,
Yeah.
obviously, and yeah, it
And
does
yeah,
present
both of
challenge.
those films are, very, hard-hitting topics as well, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting and a lot of depth to those topics that they're actually covering. So it must be quite, as an actor, it must be, you have to really put a lot of yourself into it to get through these sort of films for sure.
Yeah, 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 and Denzel. I mean, yeah, Denzel. Yeah, by all reports, like for a year, lived
Mm.
sort of nominally as a yeah as a Muslim. Didn't eat pork, didn't drink, didn't
Really?
smoke, and yeah, like
Wow.
really like did the research and yeah, sort of put a
Mm.
year in. I was listening to an interview actually, funnily enough, with Spike Lee, and yeah, he sort of said,
Yeah.
people sort of say that Denzel sort of yeah makes it look effortless, and he's like, no, not at all. Like
Mm.
he puts in the
Yeah.
work, and
Yeah.
there's a reason why he makes it look effortless, and that's because of all of the work that he's putting in the background, right? And so yeah, he
Yeah.
really really committed to this at like a time
Yeah.
where he was already recognized as yeah as being a very good actor. I mean, he's 38 in this. He's already won an Academy
Yeah.
Award
Yeah.
for best supporting actor and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
he was definitely
He was
A
well known.
list
Yeah.
and yeah, and people
Yeah.
sort of knew him. But still, it's a yeah, as you say, there's a big risk with taking this type of role.
Mm.
Because people are going to
Yeah.
either sort of love it or hate it, and it could quite easily kill your career, even if you do well
Yeah.
in it, because obviously
Yeah.
because of the content as well. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not something that
Exactly.
Hollywood's going to appreciate realistically back
Yeah.
in the 90s and probably, yeah, probably now the same, but
Yeah. Yeah. Because when did it come out? What year was it released?
92.
92. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how dated this is versus how dated Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was, which came out in 2005. Obviously,
Well,
very different
this is
context,
also
but
based in the past as well. Like, yeah, it is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so this is the year before Philadelphia that it comes out.
Yeah.
Obviously, it
Wow.
was sort of shot just before, but yeah, sort
Yeah.
of obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, even
Wow.
Philadelphia sort of felt very dated as far as like attitudes and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, and then obviously it's going to be, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we know, hopefully people know about Malcolm X, who he is, who he was, and what what happened in in this era. But it'll be interesting to see that. Do we think? I mean, it should definitely have moved on from then till now. But I'll be interested to think, oh, does some of these things still, exist? Obviously
Yeah,
with Trump being around as well, there's, quite a lot of polarization in the US, isn't there, at the moment? There's sort of
yeah,
yeah, I don't think that's helping. I wonder how much of these things are starting to come back into their society, which is a
yeah. Well, I
sad
think
thing to
yeah,
think about.
yeah. I think, and what Spike Lee, right? I mean, obviously, it's sort of it's a film from the '60s.
Mm,
Sort of the majority of the well, and even before because it is his sort of life.
yeah.
But Spike Lee, what he does fantastically well is like grounds it in the moment of the early '90s, and there's some stuff that he does that I think
Okay.
sort of makes it very of the '90s. And
Yeah.
I think he's very deliberate in the fact that he wants to say, yeah, this stuff when it went on in the '60s, but like we are
Yeah.
still here, and yeah,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the fight
It's still happening.
is still happening, and
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone would think that that
Yeah.
fight isn't still happening. So
Yeah. 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 So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think I was just saying, as you said, that's one of the key things about these sort of films when they look effortless, it's because so much effort has gone in. And that's the great
yeah,
thing that you can just sit there and it feels like you're watching real life. And I think that's the thing when acting goes bad, it's when you can see clearly it's acting. You're like, they seem really wooded, and this
yeah,
doesn't feel natural. It feels like, and that's the difference. And I mean, Denzel's such a good actor. It always feels so natural. He's done so many great films. And so, yeah, I'm surprised I've not seen this really. I mean, maybe I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty long, right? Maybe that was what sort of put me
yeah,
off a little bit.
yeah. Funny. So it's a long one.
Wow, blimey, 3 hours 20. That's just like, whew, it's about one of our podcasts. Blimey, that's gonna be.
Now for the scene by scene watch of
I would love to have got your nephews in to watch this one, and then like, yeah, it's the casual street 2020. Don't worry about it. Like, there's not
yeah.
as much walking in this one than in the
Yeah,
Fellowship.
they've got cars and stuff, so maybe they would have been more into it.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, so I mean, it must be an epic film, I imagine. I mean, yeah, Denzel Washington, Spike Lee sounds incredible. Obviously, it's about Malcolm X. But yeah, I guess do you remember when you first watched it? And I guess why is it sort of on the list as a whole as well?
Yeah, yeah. So this was one of my 50 movies in 2022. So I think that the second
Mm,
year that I did the list, and this is
yeah.
kind of almost like one of those, funnily enough, with Gandhi and Lawrence of Arabia, which also I've watched as kind
Mm,
of part of that, where
yeah.
the 50 movies selected at the beginning of the year is almost sort of these are films, and where it started from was like these are films I should have watched, we should have watched, to do with my brother, and
Mm,
that you sort of think, you know what, this is sort of seminal film, and this is
yeah.
seminal cinema, so
Mm,
we should have watched these films. And I think there's that at no point do I think I would ever think, oh, you know what, I'll pop Malcolm X into the DVD player and
yeah.
watch 3.5
Yeah.
hours of it. So I think I wanted to sort of be very mindful of actually watching these sort of great
Mm,
films,
yeah.
kind of in inverted commas. And then it was just absolutely floored by it. It's
Mm,
I don't want to talk it up too much because you know me
yeah.
not wanting to make the big sell.
I
I
feel like you should be
think
fine on this one. It's got Denzel Washington, Spike Lee. It's going to be like it should be fine. I think you could probably mind you, it's 3.5 hours. So
you don't know how big I'm about to go. So
yeah, true.
Denzel got nominated for the Oscar for it.
Didn't
L
win.
Lost to Al Pacino in Scent of a Woman, which has to rank up there with sort of worst
Hmm.
ever
Yeah.
Oscar decisions. Just, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Funnily enough, up
Yeah.
against Robert Downey Jr. in Chaplin, another biopic, and obviously, we've
Oh, wow.
also spoken about Robert Downey Jr. quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, it was the year of Unforgiven, so obviously Clint Eastwood was sort of nominated for director, and that
Oh,
was
yeah.
for film as
It.
well. But
Yeah.
honestly, like, it was nominated for Denzel and it was nominated for best costume as well. It should easily have been
Hmm.
nominated for best director and best adapted screenplay because it
Oh,
just
wow.
absolutely should have been. I would also say best supporting actress and best supporting actor very
Yeah.
easily. could have got nominations and could
Yeah.
have won the lot. Go on record as saying, I think this is the best acting performance I have ever seen.
Oh,
The
wow.
the
You did go, you
character
have gone big.
arc.
Yeah.
I was warning
You
you.
have
I was
gone
warning you.
big.
The
Yeah,
the
well,
character arc of Malcolm X and Denzel in this film is
yeah.
insane. And
And
just the acting from where he starts to where he gets to, and all of the layers that it goes through
yeah.
is just phenomenal. He does play in a non Eddie Murphy type way. He play like there are about five different
Oh,
characters that he
yeah.
plays of the same
Yeah.
person going through things,
Yeah.
like the realization at different moments, you know, the enlightenment at different moments, the betrayal at different moments. And
Yeah.
yeah, it absolutely yeah, just is a just a flooring performance, because
Yeah.
at no point do you question it, and do you know get popped out of the storyline. You're so invested in
Yeah.
this character in front of you that
Yeah.
obviously, you know, it is a character. It's based on, you know, obviously it is Malcolm X, but it's a character because it's based on his autobiography. But you know, it's sort of the
Yeah.
story of a story, right? So, and he
Yeah.
is so Denzel's so magnetic in it. It's just but also just so, yeah, as I say, like so many different things happen in his life that yeah, you absolutely believe and absolutely buy into. It's
Yeah.
just a stunning performance, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
I think up there as the best I've ever seen.
Better than Eric Cantona in Looking for Eric.
I mean, that's obviously a second. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I
you really
mean,
believe he's there and he's all imaginary.
yeah,
What the answer?
exactly. I know. I mean, he ad libs every line. You'd never know that. You would never ever know that.
I
Yeah.
also think that like the craft of this movie as
Mm,
well is very easily overlooked, or seems to be
yeah.
overlooked. I think, and you know, Spike Lee obviously has a good reputation, and I think a lot of people like his movies and sort of what he does. I
Yeah.
think that the way that he put this film together,
Mm,
you know, this should be, you know, one of the top three movies studied at film school. You know, this and Apocalypse Now. You know, just
mm.
the way that he keeps you in the story, the way that he tells the story in a non-linear way, but he kind of keeps
Okay.
bringing back. There's so many times where there's like
Yeah.
juxtapositions of like a scene from earlier and then the scene now, and it flows really well as a film, but also
Yeah.
it just has so much depth, and there are so many sort of small pieces to it that just
Yeah.
show how great Spike Lee is at making
Mm,
films.
yeah.
That yeah, it's such an unbelievably well made movie.
Yeah.
Like yeah, if you want to learn how you actually, yeah, have a central character and like
Mm,
bring them through, yeah,
yeah.
this is just absolutely so much to learn from it because it is
Yeah.
so well made.
So you'd say that, oh, obviously we've got Denzel, really getting sort of method and getting into the performance and like him being really good. So I'm looking forward to him, being on screen most of the time. I think that's going to be really interesting to see how he pulled through. And then, as you said, you've also then got a great director with Spike Lee as well, and then you've got really good content. So yeah, it sounds like with all of those together, it's going to be a great sort of cinematic sort of performance and
Yeah.
spectacle. And yeah, that's made me wonder why I haven't seen it. I don't know. Maybe it was because it was too long. Yeah, but I'm
I
looking
think
forward
it's
to this. Yeah,
yeah. It's just one of those. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Where you have to be in the right frame of mood and
yeah,
mind, and you know we've talking
yeah,
about sort of, yeah, wanting films as escapism, or as,
that's
you know,
true.
as sort of something that's entertaining. And this is
Yeah,
entertaining, definitely. Like there's again, there's
mm,
just so many bits that are just really really good and really really entertaining. But it is hard, and
yeah,
it is, you know,
yeah,
serious subject matter, and
mm,
yeah, you know, I think that, you know, those challenging films that you know, I think cinema was built around.
mm,
You know, they're
yeah,
I think they are still being made, but like, you know, and they're probably just
yeah,
as popular. Right? This wasn't huge at the time, I
Wow.
think it was well respected and has only sort of got more respected as time has gone on. But it wasn't,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, it was a mainstream movie. It did like 50 million, which in 1992 wasn't
Yeah, it wasn't
bad.
bad.
But like, yeah, was nowhere near sort of like, yeah, a complete blockbuster that everyone went to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
just
no, I
having a
think
look
it's
through some of the Oscar nominations and things, just to see, because I was like amazed when you said he didn't get nominated for Best Director, and then obviously he doesn't get nominated for Best Picture either. So Best Picture, Unforgiven, you go, okay, that should be on the list. Then The Crying Game, I've not seen that, but I have heard of that. I don't know, that might be quite good. A Few Good Men, probably could be on there. Howard's End, no idea what that is. I'm pretty sure that used to be a terrible TV show in the UK.
that's Howard's
And
way.
then Howard's Way. Wow, good
That's
memory.
yeah. If the kids don't know the reference to the A levels, they're definitely
Yeah,
not going to know the reference to Howard's
no,
way.
for Howard's Way, no. And then Scent of a Woman. So yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like this doesn't feel like these are all like amazing huge blockbusters. It definitely feels like
Yeah.
Malcolm X should have been included in here.
I mean,
And
best actress in a
interestingly,
supporting role was Marissa Tomei in My Cousin Vinny. So I mean, there the Oscars did
that is
some things
good.
well.
Don't I imagine that's further up the list. So let's yeah, no, I was
Yeah,
just looking at other things that came out that year because as you're saying, at what were blockbusters, and then I guess looking through here, the biggest one probably like the biggest blockbuster, but not necessarily the biggest Oscar winner, would have been like something like The Bodyguard, because obviously
yeah,
that was a big film, and then Aladdin as well. It looks like as well came out, so there would have been two, I'd imagine, two pretty big blockbusters at the box office, but not necessarily big Oscar winners. And then yeah, you've got, I guess, like you said, other things like like this, which didn't really get, I guess, the plaudits from the Oscars, and didn't really get box office either. So
yeah,
yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
Made less money
Maybe
than My Cousin Vinny, which is yeah, maybe not
wow, there you
not not the
go.
best thing. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Joe Pesci playing a different type of role. Who doesn't love it? So, and then
Yeah,
nowadays, I mean, now I know they're doing a lot more sort of the music biopics. So obviously they did Bohemian Rhapsody, and then they're sort of moving down that path now as well. So you've got Elvis. So I wonder if people, it's a more palatable thing just to, oh, we'll just take someone that actually had like a reasonably nice life, and we'll just follow them, and it will, there'll be some fun music as well. Maybe maybe we're all too much in the participation awards era at the moment, and we should sort of
yeah,
we need to remember that some things that we need to focus on, and even for this it's not even like history, it's still now like 60 years later, you're like, god,
yeah,
how is this still a thing? It's mad. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know, so yeah, like you said, maybe it's just one of those things. It wasn't really, because that's what I was going to say. Yeah, looking at these blockbusters, looking at the Oscar nominations, I wonder if it just wasn't, people didn't help push it that much. Obviously, it would have been marketed itself, but I wonder if it wasn't, people are like, yeah, we'll give it a bit, but we don't want to like overdo it because, it's not really what people want to see. I wonder if
yeah,
if it was a bit like that where
yeah.
they didn't put too much behind it.
Yeah, and there are different stories. Spike Lee sort of talks about not getting the budget, and them wanting to spend
Mm,
10 million on it, and he ended up spending I think 30 million on it, and like he was actually
yeah.
borrowing money from different people in order to finance it, like
Wow.
Oprah, and sort of like yeah, frankly like
Wow.
major black sort of stars
Yeah.
in Hollywood and in TV in
Yeah.
order to get the story out there as well, because yeah, Warner
Yeah.
Brothers had financed it, and then had given some money to it, and there was sort of development and stuff was sort of one of those things where he wasn't going to do it to begin with, and then he was like,
Yeah.
no, I need to do this film, and they did give it, but yeah, I don't think it would have been pushed, and I think because I think.
Mm,
Spike Lee very deliberately doesn't make it like a mainstream easy watch,
yeah.
and he
Yeah.
does ground it in the violence that was happening at the time, and yeah, sort of
Mm,
the way that he makes it seem very relevant. Yeah, yeah, I'm
mm,
sure did mean that it was a hard sell and that not as many people went
yeah.
to see it, but I think that's that's almost the mark of a great artist, right? Is okay, well,
Yeah,
this might not be popular now, but this will stand the test of time, and
yeah.
be remembered as a seminal movie, which I think it is. I mean, it's Spike Lee's now quite a sort of honorary Oscar and stuff, which yeah, they now present people with honorary Oscars rather than giving it to them for a bad film just because they feel like they should, as they did with Al Pacino and Scent of a Woman. So at least maybe
Oh wow.
that's progress for the Oscars at least. So
Yeah. So he's been given an honorary Oscar for this, or just in general for all his work?
just in general for body of
Yeah.
work. So
Yeah. Yeah, that isn't, you're right, that is way better. They should definitely do that rather than although does it still feel like a bit of a kick in the teeth? Would you be like, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I would want that, I'd kind of be like, well, you didn't really recognize it at the time, did you? So
Yeah, well, I think
but
it kind of feels a bit like your career's over. I think that's it. Like he's
uh,
said something along those lines where he's a bit like, oh well, yeah, that means my career's over. And because I think he actually won
nice.
it. I think for
Yeah.
Black Klansman. I think he
Oh
won an
yeah.
Oscar, like a non-honorary Oscar for the writing of
Hey.
that. So yeah, you get an yeah, I think if you get an honorary one and you're like, oh well, yeah, okay, yeah, you don't think I
Yeah.
can win this by myself? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
hold my beer. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's get this on. Maybe that's the thing where when you get the honorary Oscar, I think that I would be like, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, it'd be weird. I think I'd feel like I'm not sure. I feel like this is a bit of a slap in the face a bit, but I
yeah,
guess it's better to be recognised than not. And
yeah,
yeah, maybe as this film will probably show is that you should be more apathetic to to things and be more. Yeah, maybe that's it.
focused on the real things. Well, I mean, when we
Yeah,
get our honorary Peabody for services to podcasting, we can see if we're going to reject it or not, and
yeah,
maybe we'll do an episode that will get nominated for awards at some stage. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. This could be it. I
Because I
mean,
mean, it's great. It's great content
who knows?
to have one on. So
I mean, as always, it's hard to distinguish, isn't it, really? So,
yeah.
well, cool. I
So
better start getting
yeah,
this on.
talked.
If
So yeah, talked it
we've
up.
got to go through about 10 DVDs a week, take one out, put one in.
There will be intermission. We'll have a pee break in the middle of it. Yeah, no, yeah, talked it up. Didn't know whether I was going to talk it up or not, but I think there's
You did. You've
especially
talked out
like
big time. Yeah.
you know me. I always in the end just talk it up. Just so many things. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
only been a couple of years since I've watched it, and just so many things to
Yeah.
watch out for, and yeah, like from an
Mm.
impact point of view, I just think
Yeah.
is amazing. So yeah,
I'm
let's
gonna be,
without further
yeah.
ado.
I was going to just say, yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what you think of it, having just watched it a couple of years ago. I often find with these films that are so big and so powerful, and I think like something like Schindler's List, something like that, it's hard to watch it again soon because it's such a big, powerful film, and it's really emotive, and I think it really hits you hard. So it's going to be interesting to see you watching it again just 2 years later.
Yeah,
How you feel about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and I can remember like yeah, it's visceral reaction to it the first time sort of watching it,
Mm,
especially like in the
yeah.
last sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes when you kind of know what's
Mm,
happening, what's going to happen, but
mm,
you don't know
yeah.
like how it's going to happen.
Wow.
You don't know sort of
Yeah.
what's actually going to happen. It's again, it's just
Yeah.
such great filmmaking to kind of bring that sort of
Yeah.
that feeling of tension to what is a known story to a certain extent. So
Mm, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be really good.
awesome. Well, yeah, let's put it on. We'll get started, and yeah, we'll see you after the jump. Okay, as we settle in for a slightly longer one, what I think Kev will like this movie. Yeah, I think you'll like it. It's just such an amazingly well-made movie. It'll be interesting to sort of see from his sort of studies and knowing a bit more about the subject, kind of coming into it. But I think it's one of those films that you think like, oh yeah, always meant to watch that, and then when you watch it, I think you're kind of blown away by how good it is. So yeah, hopefully that's the case, but we'll put it on. We'll see you after the jump.
surprising, I think, is my
Yeah.
overarching. I think I mean we'll go into it, I'm sure, but more so because it's almost as much a film about religion as it is about race, which I didn't expect that at all. I didn't really know much about his Islamic beliefs and how, where that, delved into a lot of how he sort of where a lot of his speeches came from and all that sort of stuff. Like very much when I learned history, I mean, a lot of it is around civil rights, obviously around Martin Luther King as well. But I remember the overarching thought process was that Martin Luther King was the pacifist and relaxed, and Malcolm X was more not violent, but it was more like aggressive. And it's funny, I spoke to someone today about it as well, and they said exactly the same thing. And I said, yeah, that's not actually the truth, but that's interesting that we've both thought that based on, stuff that we got taught at school. Stuff,
A
it
British
should,
a white British
yeah,
education system. Yeah.
yeah, but it should have been like less, it should be more truthful, right? It does seem strange. I mean, I have I have downloaded. I'm listening to the audio book of his biography,
Mm.
of which this film is based on, and it is a bit more, it's a bit more punchy. I must admit in the language and things. So I'm only about halfway through or two-thirds through, but so yeah, there's a bit more to go in, and I wonder if it will change at all. I mean, I don't know if you heard much about the Lewis biography at all in terms of the actual
Yeah, no, I
book.
think, yeah, no, my wife's read it and sort of has it, funnily enough, so we have it in the
Yeah,
house. And it's, yeah, again, it's sort of, yeah, always one that I was sort of thought about getting around to
yeah,
reading and yeah, kind of going into it. But I do know that because it's the autobiography and he was writing it kind of at the height of his sort of belief in, yeah, in the Brotherhood of Islam and kind of,
all
yeah,
right,
under Elijah Muhammad. So I think it's, I
yeah,
don't know whether it then not sort of chills out, but I don't know whether I don't know where it almost goes up to, because obviously it's an
mm,
autobiography, and I don't know. I think it goes past his pilgrimage, where obviously his sort of, yeah, views did change quite a lot. But yeah, but yeah, I don't know,
yeah,
and I think that's the interesting thing is of this as a film. Like
yeah,
obviously it is still it's a film based on an autobiography, so it's obviously sort of, yeah, someone's view of his view. But like, yeah, I'm always, how true is any film? I think is
yeah,
is kind of,
yeah,
yeah, is obviously a question. But like,
yeah,
yeah, I would still sort of look at this as a film rather than sort of informing me of, yeah, what
yeah.
happened or what was true or
Who
what
he
wasn't
was.
true, because it's obviously,
Yeah,
it is dramatic and it is, yeah, again, how,
still,
yeah, how
yeah,
real is any film, because it
yeah,
fits into a
yeah,
narrative that people's lives, yeah, don't usually fit into a neat narrative.
yeah, yeah. It's true, and I guess, like we said before, ultimately you still need to make it entertaining to a point. However you might make that entertaining, and like I think we said with The Big Short, right? Like it's how do you make that sort of topic entertaining? So it still needs to. You're right, it needs to have some entertainment in there. But yeah, I was definitely surprised how much, it is almost as, like I said, as much about religion as it is about, the civil. I thought there'd be a lot more about civil rights, and obviously a lot of it is, revolved around that, the topics. But yeah, I was surprised there was so much of it that really delved into the religious part, and I like that because I didn't know a lot about that part, and so I was like, oh, wow, this is actually super interesting, and you're finding out more, and then you kind of go through this, and it's really interesting how, obviously he's like, we've been so suppressed by white people, and then he doesn't want to like effectively sort of bow down to them anymore. And then it's interesting that he then goes into Islam, and he's that kind of, he does actually talk about this in the book. They don't cover it off too much, I don't think, in the film from memory, about him bending the knee, as it were.
Yeah,
And he said, like, the first time he did that, he couldn't. He just got straight back up. He's like, he couldn't
yeah,
do it. Like, he physically couldn't do it because it's like, that's exactly what he was trying to move away from. That's what he's been fighting against. So it was very interesting, I thought, from that point of view of going back into that. I was like, wow, this is obviously in a
yeah.
different way, but much more different way, in a way that, I guess he was choosing more than he was being forced. But
Yeah, well,
yeah,
they and
I
they
was
they
really
have that
surprised.
scene, don't they, in the prison, like where yeah,
Mm,
they're asking him to sort of, yeah, to bow towards Mecca, And I think that's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really good scene because like, especially the framing in it, like where he's sort of, they're both in the center and then it kind of, yeah, like it centers on him as well. And he sort of talks about it. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, I think, yeah, I think the film is a look at, for me, like a look at Malcolm X and like his belief systems throughout his life. And I think that's like, that's what it does so well,
Yeah.
is that his belief systems kind of, obviously like as a young man, and then kind of as a young man reflecting on himself almost as a
Mm.
child. And then
Yeah.
yeah, because he kind of goes through that stages of, yeah, kind of, okay, almost sort of trying to find father figures on a sort of, yeah, basic level, but
Yeah.
more just like, his own identity and what that means and how he gets that identity and what does, we all do it, we all pin our
Mm.
identity on different as things external to us. And I think that
Yeah.
the film is really, really clever with that, like the way that it shows it. One of I think the really strong bits that shows it is like when he first meets Elijah Muhammad, and they almost sort of juxtapose his image with the image of Jesus from like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like blue-eyed, long-haired Jesus.
Yeah.
We won't get into
Yeah.
Talladega Nights too much and talk about our favorite Jesuses, but like
Mm.
obviously what they've just had the argument about, that version of Jesus
Mm.
is what someone has told you and you've believed it, and then they kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
when the first time he meets Elijah Muhammad, is very much like that as well. And again, I think what they're saying there is like, well, don't believe everything that everyone tells you. Like, you
Yeah.
have to actually think about it for yourself. And obviously that comes back kind of later on in the film with with his wife sort of saying like, yeah, I just want you to open your
Yeah.
eyes and like not believe this. And
Yeah.
yeah, so much of like him, and I think that his relationship with his wife is really great, especially kind of at the beginning where
Mm.
he's telling her things, and they film it and they shoot it, that he's just been told these things by Elijah Muhammad, and then he's like just
Yeah.
regurgitating it. And I think
Yeah.
what it does really well is like, up until that point, he's obviously got the speeches, and you're like, yeah, this guy knows what he's about, and he's got these really strong views. But
Yeah.
then as soon as Betty comes in, it's really apparent, the way they kind of show it, that he's just repeating what someone else has told him, and he's not thinking
Yeah.
for himself yet. And he's actually just kind of, yeah, he's taking on another like mantra and
Yeah.
another, thing, without actually challenging it or without thinking for himself. And I think they show
Yeah.
that evolution, which again, like for me, Denzel just does so well,
Yeah.
because you can see
So
that he's
good.
just like, he's so just believes it, and he's like, yeah, this is the truth, this is the truth. And then
Yeah.
like you just see that collapse in him, where he's, and when he then goes and confronts the guy and is like, so this, you told me this
Yeah.
wasn't a con, and yet you guys are making
Yeah.
tons of money, like,
Yeah.
is this a con? And you just see that collapse in on
Yeah.
himself, that he's just like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
this, yeah, this, my belief system's gone again. And then obviously, like, yeah, going to Mecca, and he comes back, and again, like, he just does so well, I think, because like before that, the anger and the sort of resentment and everything else, and when he comes back from the pilgrimage, like, yeah, he just has a sereneness on his face, like at the press
Yeah.
conference and stuff like that. He sort of almost, yeah, has like the, maybe the smile that we expect of Denzel, like in other
Yeah.
films, that just seems so at peace, and he sort of let go of a lot of that anger. And I just think he portrays it just so well.
Yeah, I think Denzel's absolutely incredible in this. And it's really, you're right, it's really the evolution of not of Denzel, but of the character. Like
Yeah,
he acts in different ways throughout the film that you can
yeah.
see. He's deliberately, like you said at the start, he's not, he's almost oversure of himself. Like when he's super young, like at the start, I love that bit when he's like a man about town and he's in those ridiculously crazy outfits, just
The
brilliant.
seat
And
suits.
then yeah, then like the struts, and I was like, this
Yeah.
is just brilliant.
But that little thing that he does when he first has it, and obviously it's Spike Lee is Shorty, so it's like the two of them,
Yeah,
and as
yeah,
they're walking across the street, like in the suits and stuff, you just sort of watch him, and he keeps looking to his side, because he's trying to copy Shorty. He's trying to copy
yeah,
the walk more, and it's
yeah,
just such a small like character quirk that he's kind
yeah,
of, he's just looking at him like, I want to be this guy because I want to be
yeah,
just like him. And so then you sort of see him almost like adjust his arm swing to be in
yeah,
time with Shorties and stuff. And it's just such a small detail where
yeah,
he's not already got it. He's trying to copy his friend. And like that,
yeah,
and he portrays that. It's not like he's all of a sudden like, okay, yeah, I can walk like this. Like, it's just those small things that you see him learning, which are yeah, it's just an
yeah.
amazing performance because of that for me.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And it's interesting. I did think a lot of the film would be based around the civil rights element, but actually, it's probably like an even split across his life, really. You see a
Mm.
reasonable amount of him when he's there's a little bit of him when he's quite young, and then there's quite a bigger bit about him, yeah, when he's just sort of finding himself. He's in Boston, right? And then obviously then we get into the bigger piece of when he then goes to prison, and then from that.
Yeah,
But even from there, it's pretty well spread out. You get a good amount of each element of Malcolm's life. Like
yeah,
it is quite interesting. It's definitely more. It just, I mean, I guess this is a biopic of him, but I did think it would be very focused on. I just did think it'd just be focused a lot around the civil rights, because
yeah,
obviously that was one of the biggest things of what he was known for, and why he did such great work during that time. But
yeah.
actually, it's not. It's a film about his life, and you're like, wow, yeah. There's loads more to him, and obviously, the whole Islamic piece as well, which is super interesting.
Yeah, I think it's about an hour. I think it's about an hour, 5 hour 10
Mm.
before he sort of goes to prison. And then actually
Yeah, yeah.
the
It's mad,
prison
isn't it?
bit's only like half an hour or something, but it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
really, really impactful, obviously. So yeah, like, yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think that's the thing. It is a view of him. But then like even at the beginning, like that opening scene, or really the two opening scenes, the opening scene to have like the American flag burning and interspersed with Rodney King, the sort of
yeah,
beating of Rodney
yeah,
King, which obviously at the time caused the LA riots, and then and then to have the American flag burning, which obviously is it's a controversial thing to do in America at the best of times.
yeah,
Like, it is so incendiary way to start the film that I think, like, again, it's just brilliant. And then to go into that shot where you've got the train, and then you kind of sweep all the way down to underneath the tracks and the shoe shine and the barber shop and kind of everything there.
yeah,
Yeah, again, that's why for me, like, directorially and like the way that Spike
mm,
Lee's put it together is just amazing, because to
yeah,
have those, and throughout that first hour they keep going back to him growing up and like things in the clan, and sort of the
mm,
things that have made him who he is, even though he's not almost who he is yet. But they
yeah,
don't
yeah,
sort of do it in a chronological order. They're doing
yeah,
it in a, like, for me, like the bit where he sort of says, what could all of these people have done if they didn't have it, if they had better circumstances, West Indian Archie, like maths genius, what could he have
yeah,
been? What could he have been? And I
yeah,
think that's, for me, like that first hour is so powerful in the way that
mm,
they keep going back into the past to, like, sort of say, look, there are loads of different roads that he could have gone down, and he does go down some of them, but then comes back, and yeah,
yeah,
like it's sort of like almost, yeah, makes me just feel like, okay, well, what would you have done? Like, if you would have been in this situation, if you would have,
yeah. Oh yeah,
been growing up with that amount of fear, and
yeah,
then separated from your family, and then, gone to somewhere where you're ostracized, like, what
yeah,
would you have done? And I think that's where it just really, the sort of the back and forth in that first hour is
yeah,
just so great, as far as like just
yeah.
from a storytelling point of view.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it was a bit, there were some bits where I was like the direction sort of felt a bit iffy for me at the start. The back and forth, I was sort of losing it a bit. I was like, hold on a minute, are we still in the right sort of place here? But
Yeah,
I mean, there's some great things I think that he did from a director's point of view as the film goes on. That's very noticeable. That's different, I think, to now. And I think that was really good. There was some really good. I remember there was a bit where I think five people are talking at once, and he's got the camera on like the far right, and then it swings right, it swings round at its pace to like the far left, and it's finished, and it's right on that
Yeah,
person's face, and then it's as if they were having a conversation, like as if they were the camera's your eyes, because that's how you
yeah,
would interact with these people. And I was like, that's really cool. Though that's not something you really see nowadays. So I think there was a lot of really good direction in it.
yeah.
Um,
But that, I
and
mean,
yeah,
that
I
first
think
hour was almost like a musical.
yeah, it almost
Like
is.
there's so
Yeah,
many sort of music set pieces, and then you've got, you've
yeah,
got the dance, and you've got,
yeah,
and then playing and stuff. Like, yeah, actually, there's almost sort of music
yeah.
constantly in that first hour, apart from obviously when you're
Mm.
having the flashbacks. And yeah, like if he, I don't think he's done like a big like song and dance number, but yeah, I
Oh
mean, the
yeah,
lighting in the
it could
dance
be.
scene is just, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just amazing, and
Oh
like
yeah.
that's the thing, it does feel almost, yeah, like it just, you don't really know what's going on, because it is like a dance number, and they're having so much fun and
Yeah.
stuff. And then for me, like that's the thing. Then they keep taking you back to, yeah, to like the clan shots and stuff like that, and it's sort of
Mm.
like it makes you feel so uneasy. And then actually,
Yeah.
like his life seems,
Yeah.
quite good, right? He's sort of, yeah, got
Yeah.
everything going for him. So he's enjoying himself and he seems happy and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But then like you've got that underlying tension of, okay, but yeah,
Mm.
but what can he do, because he can't actually go that far, and and then he goes
Yeah.
to New York, and obviously, yeah, goes downhill from there for him. And yeah, I just think they do that really well for that first hour.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a very different film, isn't it? In the first hour, all is well, it's hugely different, really, because obviously from who he becomes. But yeah, it was very interesting, like you said, like the outfits, the struts, like those the dance scenes. The dances were epic. They were really good. I
Yeah.
was very impressed with it. They did make you think, sort of like, oh, back in the olden times when you didn't just have TVs and Netflix, you did something, that
Went
arguably
out
might be more
dancing.
useful. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, doing something and moving your body around and having a bit of fun with other people. So yeah, but
No, it's not the same virtually
yeah,
on Zoom going to a
no.
dance.
No, it doesn't quite do the same, does it? But yeah, so was there anything new that I mean, you've only seen it a couple of years ago then, but was there anything new that you noticed this time?
I mean, I watched it. I watched it on with headphones, and yeah, the sound, just the use of sound throughout all of it is just amazing. Like
Yeah.
the fact that they obviously use sort of real gunshots pretty much any time that there's like a bang or a yeah, like even when they're sort of playing cops and robbers, they use real gunshots as the sound, which is amazing. And then funny enough, when he's there at the hospital, and you sort of see him like sort of point his finger with the gloves,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
actually like hear the glove, like it's complete silence, and you hear the gloves almost like as he sort of points.
Really?
And yeah, and like again, it's that, and that's just so powerful, because obviously that's the thing
Yeah.
that then kind of causes everyone to go off. And
Yeah.
even like the
Yeah, that was
march to the
huge.
hospital, like that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like a military march as the song, but there's also like that they then start, it's a bit like marching band, it's a bit of sort of tuba, it's a bit of like sort of trumpet and like jazz and stuff. So it's that kind of mix between like military but also like other touchstones and yeah,
Yeah.
other things kind of coming into it, which I think is, yeah, the use of music and sound throughout, I think is just, yeah, really really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't really, I guess, yeah, there's so much content. I mean, there was a lot of music in there. I didn't really notice it as much, maybe, yeah, because you'd seen it on the second time. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's the March scene. Oh my word, that was huge, wasn't it? That was epic. I was
yeah,
like spine tingling. It was like just crazy, and then just a great. I think it was portrayed really well in the way that it was conducted. Like you could see, like yeah, everything about that was just really good. I was really
yeah,
impressed with that. And then yeah, just like
yeah.
you said, like the leather creaking on the gloves, and them sort of points. Yeah, we can leave now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then like the
that,
guy coming in and being like, I want to be a mermaid. Like that was amazing.
yeah,
That was so cool. I want to be a part of you. And he's like, well,
yeah,
what does
yeah.
that
Do you know
mean?
what
Do
it
you know
is?
what that means? And he's like, no. And like even then, I think it's sort of yeah, it's not saying that there aren't any easy answers. And I think that's what the film just
Mm,
does so well. Is like, no, you know what, it's complicated, and you get people that
yeah,
think they're doing good but they're not, and you get people who think they're doing bad, and maybe they're not as well. And like,
yeah.
yeah, like I think that sort of they do that really well, that they focus
Mm,
it on him,
So it's not a criticism of the religion or kind of of any of the organizations. Obviously, it kind of it
Mm.
goes downhill, and then obviously towards the end, obviously it's pretty damning of them because
Yeah.
because it has the sympathy of Malcolm X because he's the main character and it's his autobiography. So like
Yeah.
that's kind of fair enough, but I think what it's always doing is actually sort of saying, well, again, like if you were in this situation, what would you do? Like it, with all the speeches and kind of with
Mm.
everything that he's doing, and even like when he's kind of told that he's going to be the spokesperson, and then it's
Mm.
that kind of conversation about, okay, well, put ink in the water and they'll drink it if they're desperate
Yeah.
enough. But like we want it to not
Yeah.
be inky water. But you're kind of like, again, you're a bit like, but he's telling you that you can get people to do anything if they're desperate
Yeah.
enough, which isn't a good that's not a good thing for someone to say with any sort of
No,
power.
no.
But that's the thing, like you just see, Denzel just he's so in rapture,
Mm.
that
Mm.
was it. He says, like, doesn't he, that he adores him and like
Yeah.
discusses the route, and he
Yeah.
just like you see that on his face, and you just see he's like
Yeah.
he thinks this person has all the answers, and obviously no one ever has any of the answers. But when you're so desperate for answers, you'll believe that
Yeah.
someone has them all because you just desperately want to
Yeah.
believe that someone's got them all, and that's just it just shows that so well. And that's why, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it was a big claim right at the beginning about best acting performance, but
Yeah.
like nothing's taken that away for me. Like on the
Yeah.
second watch, I just think he does so well.
Yeah, he's really really good in this. Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic, and it's really noticeable that he's so good in the way that I said that you can see the character change on screen. Like he
Yeah.
actually, the way he acts it, he is different, and so to a point where you're like, oh wow, actually, hold on a minute, he's now doing this, and that's tantamount to the effort that he put in and how he's done everything to make sure he can portray the character correctly.
No, I was just going to say there's a story that I love about that Spike Lee has said, where they were filming one of the speeches, and like they were filming it and everyone's sort of watching Denzel do the speech, and then the cameraman basically like tapped him on the shoulder and kind of said to him, look, the film's about to run out. And he was like, well, what do you mean the film's about to run out? And they'd actually gone 10 minutes over what they were
Wow.
supposed to be shooting, but Denzel knew the speeches so well, and
Yeah.
like no one realized that he was doing the speech, but they had gone past the bit that it was scripted in the film, and almost
Yeah.
no one noticed because he
Yeah.
because
Wow.
he was sort of doing the
He
speech
got them
so
all.
well.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah. So
apparently
he'd
sort of
indoctrinated them. Yeah.
well, just because he just knew it, and so he wasn't ad-libbing because all the speeches are speeches
Yeah.
from Malcolm X, but he knew the
Mm.
speech, like he'd learned the entire speech, not just the bit that was.
Just the bit that he needed for the film. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Spike Lee sort of says, "Oh yeah," the cameraman sort of said, "Yeah, are you going to call cut?" And he was like, "You crazy? I'm not calling cut.
Yeah.
Look at him going like."
Yeah. Do you know what it'll do to me? Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like, when he's in the flow, you can't call
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, like really embodying the character. And I
Yeah.
did, especially
Yeah.
like for such a long film. I don't know, how did you feel about the length? Because I just think
Little bit
it
long.
still flies by. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean,
Little bit
3 hours
long.
and 3 hours and a quarter's long, right?
Yeah. There was a bit where I think as he's coming out of the prison and he's starting to find himself, that bit sort of just before like he really gets into the speeches and stuff, that sort of dragged a little bit, but not much of it. I mean, the start, I mean, it's almost like independent stories, aren't they? Like you said, the start is him in Boston, and that's almost like sort of phase one or chapter one of his life or of this film. And then it moves on to, okay, then it's New York and the prison, basically, then the next bit. And then there's the next. So yeah, they almost do, they're all separate pieces.
Yeah,
So I didn't really, I definitely after when he got from prison onwards, I didn't feel like it was slow at all. Like is after the prison, I should say, like that's when it really starts picking up. Yeah, it definitely is a long film, but I don't think you'd feel bad coming out of it thinking like, oh God, that was, it could have been an hour less. There's a lot to
yeah,
get through, and especially as you kind of need the early stage of the movie and talking about the early stages of his life really shows you why, like you said, that he's looking for something specific later when he's in the jail, when he's in prison, and then actually then finds, Islam. He's looking for a specific character, isn't he? And you need to know that from his history of what happened when he was younger, and his dad and his parents. So you need that bit to sync it all together, so you understand it a bit more. So, and I think, like you said, it's a lot more. It's almost a bit more fun at the start. There's the dances and stuff, and it's interspersed with some of the horrific acts that happened to him and his family when he was younger. But yeah, I did think the film was like, in terms of length, I didn't really feel like it was too long. It's not, it's not Fellowship of the Ring, but it's
It's not as much walking.
There's a lot less walking, more strutting.
Yeah, I think they just they link it all together so well. I think that's what it is. Definitely sort of almost three distinct stages. You kind of with the build up, and then prison. Actually, he's not actually in prison for that long of the film. Obviously, it's very powerful. And again, I mean, the lighting when he's in solitary confinement, and like the kind of slit like opening, and then the light coming in, and like him rejecting it. It's just so like it's so well made. But then he's sort of out, and then the sort of when he's believing is quite a long time, and then you sort of see that descent of like sort of everything falling apart, and realizing that it's not what he's just believed, and he sort of has to start questioning it. But then like, and even then there's so many times where they like make references to what happened to him as a kid, and just sort of the history like repeating itself almost. I think this is so gut churning, obviously, when they firebomb his house, but then they then put like scenes of when the Klan had firebombed like his house when he was a kid, and he's going around the house, and then it's his dad going around the house, and like they just sort of have the cuts like back and forth, and it's he's doing everything that he can to get away from that history, and yet he can't, and he's just sort of almost trapped by it. It's just
that was mad, isn't it? I mean, that's crazy to think about. As a child, you wake up from your house birded, and then when he's older, and then he has kids, the same thing happens again. And you're just like, this is mad. I had really no idea that he was assassinated by the Islamic, like the whatever it is, the Brotherhood, or whatever you'd call them. I had no idea that was the case. I thought it was just the same as like, Martin Luther King, that was going to be more to do with the race riots, rather than actually to do with the fact that they were like, no, we feel like you're getting too big. It almost like tall poppy syndrome, right? Like, no, you're getting too good. And you're like, what? That's why he died. You're like, that's crazy. And it's just mad, right? It's just mad to think. And then, I had to look into this a bit more. There were 3 people that convicted. 2 of them have been exonerated now because they've had more evidence come forward to say, to clear them in terms of like, I guess, like DNA evidence and things like that. But they're still looking into it more because they're firm believers. They think that the FBI or the CIA were actually involved, and giving them information. Because how did they know so much information about him? And I think that there must have been an American government agency involved as well. So absolutely crazy. Like, that bit was all just, I was like, this is mad. I had no idea that any of this stuff happened. It's almost like he's trying to just like build and focus on building a better America for everyone, but specifically obviously for black people who were still getting very persecuted in the US at that point. And yet at the same time he's having to sort of like fight on this other front of like, can you try not to kill me just because I'm good at what I'm doing? Like, what's going on here? It's mad.
No, and that's and because you kind of that he's going to get assassinated, or like the first time I watched this, you kind of know that Malcolm X was assassinated, right? But like, I was the same. I didn't know when. So then that kind of that entire sort of last 30 minutes where like they're casing the joint, but then you sort of see him on the street, and you're like, again, there's so much tension in that. And when he's in the car, and it's like focused on him, but you see like a car driving like at the same speed as him, and someone keep looking in, like just in the background, and it's out of focus, but you can see it. And I remember the first time sort of watching it, just being like, just that entire time, you're like, well, that he's going to get assassinated, but no idea when. And then and then to happen in such a sort of public forum, and to happen in front of everyone, You like, and that the change is going to come scene is just, I mean, just with the music again, the music just being so cool, and like especially that song, and yeah, like, you know, him almost sort of floating, and you know, and that look on his face, like he knows he's going to die, and like can he accept that, or can't he accept it, or like, you know, and then he sort of says it's the time for martyrs, you know, which is just such a tough line, but and he just portrays that so well. And then funny when he bumps into the lady, and she's like, "Oh, well, Jesus will sort you out," and he's a bit like, "Okay, yeah, no, thanks for that."
Thanks.
But she's like, "You keep doing what you're gonna do. Jesus will help," and he's like, "Oh no,
that's unfortunate.
I thought you were going to be helping me, but you're not." But like, I think that again is just so well put together that you've got so much tension there, because you know something's going to happen, but you're not sure exactly when and where, and then when it does, it's obviously like just actually like over quite quickly, and like it's sort of interesting.
It's very brutal, isn't it? It is short, sharp, and like it's very raw. You know, it is, because it's like a, you know, someone with a shotgun, so it's close in, obviously, as well. And it's just boom. It's very raw, and
then Angela Bassett, like crying over the body is such an
and obviously the kids there, and so it's kind of that loop just continues, right? He had to see terrible things happening when he was younger, and then his kids have now seen the same. And it's just like, oh, when will this cycle ever break?
Which I think is like, I think that is completely deliberate. Like, that is what Spike Lee is saying. Like, and I think that is what, like, when do we break the cycle, and how do we break this cycle? And that's kind of why he probably, you know, includes the Rodney King stuff at the beginning, right? He's like, this is just keeps happening. This keeps happening. Like, how do we stop this keep happening? Because this is just crazy, and we have to stop it.
That scene, like it's interesting, because I don't know if he did this deliberately, but it's so harrowing and brutal to watch, that the Rodney King scene at the start, that he does intersperse the titles in with it. And I wonder if he's done it deliberately, because it is so harrowing for audiences, for people that, if you hadn't seen it, it's well, even if you have seen it, it's still, I mean, it's just absolutely awful. And then, like, you know, there's like 7 cops or something, and like a car goes past, and you're like, should they have done something? You know, what you know, should they or not? And that's one of his speeches. He says he talks about, doesn't it, where they give up the sheets, as in like the Ku Klux Klan. They've given up the sheets, and now they've got police uniforms. And you're like, oh yeah, that's very. It's very on point, isn't it? It's a very telling. That was a very telling part. And you're like, geez, I mean, how can you even, you know, where you finally were getting to a point where maybe you were starting to sort of push back at them and fight back. They go, well, I'm just going to become a government official now, so now you can't. And you're like, oh my God, like, what the hell? It's just madness, isn't it?
And I think that, like, as I say, like, just to start the film with that, like, you kind of go in, okay, this is going to be a biopic, it's going to be about the, you know, 50s and 60s, it's going to be in the past, it's going to be, you know, like all of that, and then to like start it, you know, now and here and now, and to like say, you know, this stuff's still going on, like, you know, just to make it all really just relevant, and like pressing on the day. I think it's just amazing film storytelling, and putting together. I think it's just amazing to make that choice to say, you know, this isn't going to be, you know, you walk in and straight away it's like, just, you know, this isn't going to be talking about the past and like not having a relevance to then at the ending of the film, which I think, you know, kind of having the kids talking about it and like, okay, we remember Malcolm X now, and, you know, it's important that we keep remembering him, and to have, and obviously to have Nelson Mandela then, you know, actually sort of do some of his speech again. It's, you know, it's such a powerful story. You know, the Malcolm X story is so powerful, but then Spike Lee brings it to, okay, but what is the relevance with it today, and why is this important still, and why are these stories really important? And I think that's just it's just an amazing piece of storytelling and filmmaking for that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think it is portrayed very well. I think he could easily have gone down a route that would have been very different to this, and really showed so much of the harrowing things that happened, and really, like, how terrible, life is. But I think he does a really good job of balancing, showing enough of that, but balancing out of how people like Malcolm X were trying to change things, and go, this is how they were doing things, and this is how they influenced, and how things did change. And I think that's good. He easily, I think, could have done it in a very different way.
Yeah.
And I think he didn't. He sort of takes that higher ground of like, look, this is how someone like this did, and this is the impact that he had, and he was moving things forward. We've now unfortunately started, probably especially in the 90s, then started to move backwards. And then, yeah, as he said, how do we continue moving forward? So yeah, I think the direction was really good as well. I think it was very, very well put together. I was, like I said, there was so much of it that I didn't know. So I was really, that's what I said, I was sort of surprised. It was just so much of it. I was like, wow, I just didn't really know so much about this. And it was just bizarre that he's like, sort of ends up having to fight on two fronts, because it's like, what, guys, like, I'm just, I'm trying to focus on this here and help us all. And they're like, no, you're getting too big for your boots. We're going to have to chop you down. And you're just like, what's going on? He's trying to help everyone. And just mad,
but
absolutely crazy.
But that's and that's the thing. Like, everyone's just trying to, do what they think is right. And obviously, even when the guy sort of tells him about, like, well, they told me to blow up your car, and again, like, it's just brilliant by Denzel, like the reaction to that, where he's like, you instantly see him, like, he's trying to figure out the angles, and he's trying to, like, okay, well, what does that mean for me? Like, how am I going to be able to cope with that? And then he sort of sends him away, and sort of kind of, at that time can't even sort of say, okay, you protect me, and like, ditch them. He's like, well, I can't get in the way between you and your father. And his the morals that he has, and the viewpoint that he has, then actually sort of damages him, which again I think is brilliant. And Angela Bassett, I think, is just awesome in it, like, but their relationship at the core of that, where she's just like, you have to wake up, you have to see these things, you have to open your eyes, because I get what you're trying to do, and I believe in it as well. But like, you can't, that doesn't mean that you can be blind to everything else.
Like, she has the favorite line for me. She says, you can face death 24 hours a day, but the possibility of betrayal never enters your head. And you're just like, wow, that's it. Like, that was such a good, poignant line, I thought. That, and that's the thing, we can all get to that point where you just sort of, you're going down a road, and you're completely blinkered, and you're not thinking outside. And for everyone else, it was so obvious and clear that there was obviously betrayal around. But for him, he was just, like I said, so following that path, and following the path of the prophet, that he just couldn't see it, even with his wife's trying to open his eyes to it. He's like, come on, like this. And he's like, no, you're wrong.
Because it's hard, right? That's the thing. Like, when you believe something so much, and you want it to be true so much, you want something to be pure, you want something to believe in. It's so difficult to then to open your eyes, and then admit that it might all not be. And like, that's again, it just, they do that so well. In the scene when, like, the guy sort of confronts him and sort of says, oh, you his pimp. Like, you see the sort of the confusion of Denzel's face, and then, like, he's like, oh, he's, no, it's fine. Like, he's, he wants to be educated. Let's, go and get something to eat. And you sort of see this, you see a smile on his face, and like, no, it's fine. But you see in his eyes that he, like, for the first time, he's actually doubting it. And and you can see that, again, he's like, don't worry, like, everything's fine. But you see that doubt in his face, which is so difficult to do as an actor,
isn't it?
Exactly. Like, to get, like, to as obviously as an actor, you're pretending to act that you're pretending between two things is like, just impossible, isn't it? It's just those little sort of human ticks that would sort of show that actually he's doubting it. Because if you pretend too well, then you don't get the fact that he's got the doubt, but he manages to do that. And it's just amazing. And I love the proposal scene. I mean, just such a small scene in the movie, but again, I think just humanizes it, and like the fact that he was holding his breath and he didn't realize that he was holding his breath, and like, yeah, you know, he asks her and she just answers yes straight away, and he's like, what did you hear what I asked you?
Did you ask my question?
And she's just like, did you hear my answer? And that's like, it's so great. Like, she's not like, yeah, I heard you, yes I will. She's like, yeah, did you hear my answer? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And so like, I think that's that, because that relationship, I think, with Betty as well, like even the fact that, you know, they're on the date and they're having the ice cream and stuff, and that's when someone comes in to tells him about the guy who's been beaten up by the police. Like, there's so many other ways you could do that, right? You could have a phone call, you could have something breaking up, but it's a very sweet sort of moment when they're really starting to get to know each other, as they're talking about the height and the age, which obviously, like, you know, is going to be the sticking point about them being together, which is ridiculous, but like, but is kind of true to, I guess, what they were talking about. But then, like, someone interrupts that to sort of to say about it, and then to go from that, like, really sweet, like, moment between the two of them, to then go to the scene by the police station, and you know, and then into kind of that where it's like, you know, the power of that, and like the sort of the public facing of that, where he's got to be sort of stony eyed and he's got to be like really strong. I think just really great comparing the two scenes, going from literally from flowing from one into the other. There's no cut, there's like, okay, yeah, you know, he's been building up, he's been taken to the hospital and stuff. Is like, it doesn't, you know, those moments don't wait for a convenient moment in your life, right? They break up your first date with the woman that you're going to marry, and I think that's what it just shows really well, is you know, the just kind of comparing those small moments, like personal moments, then with like the public facing moments, which is really good.
No, I think you're right. I think Denzel is incredible in it. Was there any other, like, that was probably my favorite line? Were there any other, I mean, obviously the speeches are epic, and there's, you know, so many great lines in this, but were there any other lines that you specifically pulled out?
Yeah, I mean, I love that a man curses because he doesn't have the words to say what's on his mind. I think that's that's a great line. You should never join an organization unless you know what it's all about. Like, you know, it's almost straight.
That's the t-shirt. That is,
it's just almost straight out of Shakespeare, isn't it? It's kind of like Polonius giving like advice to Laertes as he goes off to university, right? You've got to do that. And then I love just and it's sort of just obviously a bit of a throwaway line, but like the fact that he says, we intend to see Brother Johnson, to the police. I think the choice of the word intend there is just so powerful. And I think that's the thing, obviously, with Malcolm X being so literary, and the speeches and stuff obviously being so great, to write a script that could actually that could actually then like reflect that in the smaller moments, that the choice of words I think they have in the script is just it's just really good. So like, we intend to see Brother Johnson. It's like it's like there's not a threat there, but there is a threat there, and it's it's just so good.
It's just, you're right, it's like the use of language as almost a threat rather than any kind of like physical or anything. It's just like the subtleness of using specific words. Very impressive.
And I mean, interesting, some of the reviews, actually sort of interesting. From one of them was entitled "A mid-1990s film about a true person that existed," and then the review was, "This film follows a leader that actually existed during the 1960s in America. It's really a drama film with quite a few dramatic performances in it from all the supporting actors, as well as Denzel Washington's performance." And I was like, do people not know that Malcolm X was a real person? Is that like someone coming in and
maybe not.
It's thought that was interesting. And then Spike Lee reassesses the life and times of Malcolm X through a towering performance by Denzel Washington as an influential and committed black rights activist, never veering away from the controversial moments in his life, but always emphasizing his strength, his courage, and his humanity. Which I liked. I mean, again, no idea why that's a 3-star rather than a 5-star review. But I thought that was, you know, that I think especially like that's that is like his strength, his courage, and his humanity. I think like,
just crazy that he's just so acceptance of death from such a young age, and kind of because he had to be, because he'd seen it around, and there would just seem to be any chance that it could happen at any point. And so he's just so, you know, familiar with death that he doesn't fear it. It's just no, and I think you're right. Denzel, you know, really shows that in the portrayal, is that you never see a point where he looks like he's scared really at all.
Yeah,
So
it's just that acceptance.
Mm.
Yeah, the algo we'll kind of go into. I mean, the algo was just focused on other sort of civil rights movies. So Selma, Judas and the Black Messiah, which actually I haven't watched yet, which is a more recent one. Mandela and Gandhi, and obviously Gandhi. I think is the one that
I had Gandhi,
most like resonates. Although I think again, like yes, it's similar maybe, but what this film does is take a story and make it very current. And like Gandhi, I've only just watched Gandhi. I think I watched it last year as one of my 50 films, and it's a good performance, and it's interesting and stuff, and obviously the sort of again like a very interesting point of history and what we know and what we don't know, and what we get taught and what we don't get taught. But I think what this film does is make that entire thing kind of relevant, even sort of now, and even the fact that the Rodney King riots are like 30 years ago. But still they're relevant, and I think that's what it does. So I kind of get it. I think it's I think the algo's sort of taking the topic and putting it in, and that's kind of fine. But
would you say there are any other? Because I was trying to think of any other films. Would you say there are any other films like this? Because I think you're right. This is why I said sort of surprised at the start that it's not just. I think Gandhi, from memory, when I watched it, it is more focused on that specific point of his life that is really, poignant and relevant to history. It doesn't necessarily spend so much time, on his younger years and things like that. Yeah, exactly. Whereas this film is a film about Malcolm X. Whereas, like I said, when I first came into it, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a film about the civil rights movement and, his impact on that. But it isn't. It's a film about Malcolm X. And so it's a very different film. So it is almost just like a biopic, isn't it? Almost just like, I don't know, like Stephen Hawking's biopic or something like that, where it's just covering his entire life rather than it being just a point that we know him from of history. It's no, this was a person and he had more levels, and this is why he got to where he got to, and this is why he did what he did. So you could get a better grounded understanding of why he was so important. So it's difficult. I don't know. You're right. I mean, in if you go into that sort of detail, Gandhi's probably not perfect, and then but then I don't know. I don't know what. I couldn't think of anything else really was. So I said Ali. That was like the Muhammad Ali one. That was the only one I could think of potentially.
Yeah, it's very sort of limiting even on his life. I mean, for me, like the comparison would be like almost like Apocalypse Now or something. I think it's such a just a brilliant film, and like how it's been made is almost this for me if this isn't on every single film school's list of films to study, then what on earth is? Because I think it's just an absolute classic, so well made, so well directed, put together with such an amazing leading performance for sure. But as I said kind of before, like I think Angela Bassett could easily have got an Oscar for her portrayal. I think Delroy Lindo, even as West Indian Archie, like having the stroke and stuff like that, and again like not being able to move his arms and like such a powerful performance as from him as well. So and obviously it is more sort of mimicking, but Elijah Muhammad, if you actually look at some like you hear his speeches and stuff there, that guy, that actor's also like got him down pat.
Oh really?
That is more of a like kind of mimicking rather than like bringing sort of the character more to life, which I think is what Denzel is. So difficult one to rate, I guess. When I do think it is so high.
Is this a pass then for the algo? Are we just going to call this a draw, or
I think it's just I just think it's a pass. I'm not not sure whether they
you can't there's nothing else that's quite like it, so it's hard to compare and win. So it's number 60, which, as we know, we all know as the millions of people that listen to this podcast or come into the shop, that you like to have a big film on a round number. So what's happening with this? Is it staying at 60 or is it moving around the list?
Yeah, I think it's going to move up the list. I think, just sort of watching it and thinking about it. I do think it's an incredibly well-made movie. I think, like, again, it's not a movie you're going to see, watch over and over again, unless you are studying it and you do kind of want to make films.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd move it up to 50 to kind of keep it at an important number, and obviously number. 50, like halfway through. So it's an important place on the list, even if it's not higher. But thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Like, do just think it's an amazingly well made movie, and for 3.25 hours, I think it flies by. So how about you? Obviously I talked it up a lot, kind of coming into it. Did it live up to it? What did you think overall?
I think you've talked it out coming out of it as well. So you've done a great job. I had it as number 7 of 41. So firmly in the good section, above The Princess Bride and just below Lunchbox. I was actually, that was an interesting one for me. I was like, which would I? I did really enjoy this, and it was bad. I mean, it's definitely in the good section, but just below the Lunchbox. I think I did really like the Lunchbox. I thought that was a good film.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It's, sort of rewatchability and stuff. I think it's a difficult film to watch, but really good for it anyway. So awesome. Well, that's great. For next week, we have a quote which might actually be paraphrasing. It might not be the actual quote, but what do we do when we're scared? We laugh. It's a quote that is very much about the next film. So we'll see what that is next week. As ever, thanks to Tom Evans for the theme song. You can follow us on Longplay Video on Instagram, or visit longplay.video to see all the lists, and we'll see you next week.